So if you're thinking about moving to North County, San Diego, you might be kicking around these two cities that we're gonna cover right now. We're actually right on the border of Carlsbad right behind us. We're standing here in Encinitas. Although they border each other, there are a lot of differences and similarities. We're gonna go through a bunch of those and let you decide which one is best for you. Howdy, howdy, I'm Chris Erickson.
And I'm Cassidy Lewis.
And we love making these videos for you, but we're also real estate agents here in North County, San Diego. So if you guys are thinking about moving out this way, definitely hit us up, call, text, email. We got your back when moving here to North County, San Diego. Let's jump into Encinitas versus Carlsbad.
One of the main differences between Carlsbad and Encinitas is their size. Encinitas is about 20 square miles, and that includes Cardiff, which is just to the south side of Encinitas. And Carlsbad's twice as big, almost 40 square miles. So main difference there is just a drastically different size city that also translates into population, business, everything. Really, Carlsbad is just a lot bigger than Encinitas. And Carlsbad and Encinitas both have similar lengths of beach. Encinitas is around 6 miles, which includes Cardiff, and then Carlsbad to the north is about 7 miles. But the beaches are definitely different. Encinitas has a long stretch of bluff front beaches, so there's one access point where you don't have to be walking downstairs at the bluff, and that's Moonlight Beach. And then Cardiff to the south, there's big stretches of beach where you can jump right onto the sand. But Carlsbad has a bunch of them. You've got Ponto, you've got Tamarack, which you can drive right down into the lower parking lot. You've got the whole boardwalk section which you can just jump right across the boardwalk and be right in the sand. And so there really aren't huge bluffs. There's a couple little stretches of big bluffs at the campgrounds and things like that, but it's drastically different than Encinitas.
And for the beaches, we'll get a little bit more into the actual surf and that kind of stuff in the amenities section, which we're gonna cover later. But price points in Carlsbad to Encinitas, like we said, even though they border each other, when we're chatting with clients and stuff, we always say the Encinitas side, you're looking about $100,000 more for any sort of property. The average price points are actually quite a bit different than that. The average price point for February right now, 2022, was sitting right around 1.5, just shy of 1.5 for Carlsbad. In Encinitas, the median or the average price point is about $2.1 million. So you can see there is quite a bit of difference in the pricing between Encinitas and Carlsbad.
And part of the reason for that drastic difference in price too is Encinitas has a longer stretch of oceanfront homes. We've showed videos on Neptune Avenue, which is a long stretch of bluff-front, oceanfront homes in Encinitas. Carlsbad has a stretch on Ocean Avenue, kind of up by Carlsbad Village, and then there's Terramar, which is right off Cannon and the Coast Highway, kind of in that central Carlsbad area. But for the most part, those are the only bluff-front, oceanfront homes in Carlsbad.
And even in condos, it's drastically different. Carlsbad's like right around $870 average price point. Encinitas is about 1.1 right now, sitting, like I said, we're actually in March of 2022. But Carlsbad as a whole has a lot more condo options. So if you're looking at condos between Encinitas and condo, townhome, depending on where you're coming from, most of the style houses that we're going to be chatting about are like townhome style, so it's not like top and bottom, although there are some of those too. But for the most part, it's kind of townhome style. You might share a wall or two, but yeah, Encinitas, once again, on that front is much more expensive. All right, so now let's jump into the types of housing between Encinitas and Carlsbad. There are vast differences in both cities within each city, and they're kind of all separated into different little sections. Carlsbad, which we'll get into, has different zip codes. Encinitas has different just areas. It's all 92024 plus Cardiff. We just did a vlog on Cardiff if you want to see actual Cardiff. But for the most part, the other sections of Encinitas is a Livenhain, and that's kind of like the semi-rural area of Encinitas. There's a tiny little sliver of condos. Other than that, it's all single-family homes, bigger lots, a lot of like equestrian trails out there. It's a really beautiful area, kind of on the eastern portion of Encinitas. And next up, going a little bit further west towards the coast, is New Encinitas. A good mix of tract neighborhoods and kind of older, like early 70s, late 80s townhomes. That's kind of like the entry-level Encinitas, where you do find some of those townhomes, and like we mentioned, the prices in there have been going up, but there's some really cool spots. And then you have El Camino Real, which kind of separates New Encinitas, and it is like the main drag. There's all kinds of big box stores. There's a few little hidden gem restaurants and stuff in there, but that's kind of like all the infrastructure for Encinitas, for the most part, is in that New Encinitas area. Going a little further, you have Old Encinitas. That's like the downtown area of Encinitas. That's where you have kind of the main street. You got all the restaurants, shops, bars, all that kind of stuff, the little local area. Our office is down there. Come say hi if you want. And housing style in Old Encinitas is going to be the majority of single family homes. There's not too many condos, few here and there, but but if you want like a pretty walkable area, that's probably the most walkable in Encinitas. And the fourth little district of Encinitas is Leucadia, just to the north, and that's where you're gonna find like beachfront homes right on Neptune Ave, like bluff front, beautiful ocean views. And then going inland Leucadia from there, you're gonna find the main street, which is another main street. I think it's one of the better ones here in North County as well, restaurants and shops and that kind of stuff. And then the neighborhoods kind of surrounding there in Leucadia, you have some bigger lots, you have some really cool properties in that section, some really unique properties in that area. There's a few kind of tract neighborhoods, very small. You know, that's kind of not what Leucadia is known for, but you will find a few of those in there. And then some view lots as well. So there's some really cool spots in Leucadia.
Carlsbad, like we mentioned, is way bigger. So it is broken up into 4 zip codes. You've got 92008 in the northwest portion. You've got 92010 in the northeast portion. Then you got 92009 just south of that. And then you got 92011 on the coast on the southern side. So 4 zip codes. Let's go through all of them right now. First, 92008 is Old Carlsbad, which is where the village is. It is where a lot of the shops and restaurants and amenities in Carlsbad are located. There's a ton of local restaurants, bars, breweries, tasting rooms, everything you really want right in that village area. Housing-wise in Old Carlsbad, it is definitely gonna be older. A lot of the homes kind of on the east side of the 5 freeway, which kind of splits Old Carlsbad in half, is going to be a lot of those older 1960s tract neighborhoods that are kind of converting back into kind of that more custom feel, where a lot of people have either torn down the original house or completely redone and kind of kept that old local flair to it. But it is a wide mix of different type of housing, mostly detached though in that section. In the village area of Carlsbad, you'll find mostly commercial spaces and all that, but there are some of those little beach bungalows still left in that section, but a lot of new condos are starting to be built in that area. So if you're looking for a newer condo, kind of right in the heart of things, that's a good spot to look to. Going east from there is 92010. We pretty much call that Calavera Hills. That is the biggest community within 92010, and it is a mix of a whole bunch of different master plan communities. That whole neighborhood, that Calavera neighborhood, is around Lake Calavera, the Calavera hiking trails, all of that stuff right in that area. So if you're looking for a community where you can jump right out your door and get hiking, that's definitely one of them. It's going to be mostly detached single-family houses, but there are a couple little condo communities kind of sprinkled in. Heading south from there, you've got 92009, which is a huge zip code within Carlsbad, both on how many different communities there are, how many La Costas can you find in that little section of Carlsbad? A ton of them. You've got La Costa Valley, you've got Old La Costa, you've got La Costa Oaks, mostly detached houses in this area, and kind of ranging from older 1960s, 1970s homes in Old La Costa up to brand new, you know, in the last 20 years in La Costa Oaks, kind of that southern portion of 92009, and up to like mansion style homes in the ranch in Carlsbad, which is on kind of right on the border of Encinitas and Carlsbad. Heading west from this zip code, you get to 92011, which is pretty much Aviara. It's most of the housing is going to be in Aviara, which is a master plan community with mostly detached single family houses. There are a couple condo communities within Aviara, but most of them are going to be kind of on that northwest section out of true Aviara area. And there are a ton of condo options on that in that little section of that zip code. So if you're looking for kind of coastal townhome condo style, there is a lot of options in there. So for the most part in this zip code, you know, we always kind of mention that Aviara is kind of like that resort style living. There's a beautiful golf course that runs around a lot of these neighborhoods. There's a Hyatt hotel right there, great restaurants. There's a lot of really cool amenities there. So most of the housing in here is going to be pretty similar in look, size, feel, all of those things. There's a couple gated neighborhoods here and there, but for the most part, they're going to be pretty similar.
So a lot of people, when they are moving somewhere, they want to know what the vibe, kind of the feel of the place is like. Even though these two places do border each other, there are some differences. Encinitas has a little more kind of small town charm, small town vibe. A lot of people seem to have lived here for a long time, so they have their roots right in Encinitas. And Encinitas as a whole is pretty protective as far as like development or change and that kind of stuff. So anything new that comes up as far as like a new development or, you know, something converting to something else, there is a lot of feedback from the community. Even though they are protective about change and development and all that kind of stuff and want to keep it as it is, they just want to keep that small town feel, that charm. The area still got a really good vibe. It is still at heart a small surfer town, some of the best beach beaches in North County, some of the best surf breaks in North County. So the vibe as a whole is still pretty mellow, still really nice people here in Encinitas.
Carlsbad definitely has a different vibe than Encinitas. There is still some of that surfer vibe, especially kind of in that kind of Tamarack, Coast Highway housing and everything. You get a little bit of that vibe, but it's a little bit more curated, a little more organized. Carlsbad as a whole, as a city, is very pro-business, pro-development. A lot of big companies are moving into Carlsbad just because there's incentives to, and there's space to have commercial space and all that. Carlsbad as a whole is just very organized, and that comes across as a great tourist community. It comes across as a bunch of master plan communities where there's a ton of great housing, great parks. I mean, the infrastructure in Carlsbad is second to none really in North County, San Diego. And a lot of that is just Carlsbad is open to change and development. So we've seen a lot of big master plan communities. AVR right behind us is a recent one, but also some big ones, and recently Robertson Ranch. And then they also just are kind of pro other things coming in, like the Crossings Golf Course is an amazing golf course right off Palomar Airport Road. They have the only theme park in North County in Legoland, and they've built a couple hotels around that over the last couple years. So it really is just a city that is open to change and growth and all that, and it kind of shines through. And that kind of ties into our next segment, which is the amenities that these communities have. Carlsbad, like I said, has a great golf course in the Crossings. There's also a smaller little executive course, Rancho Carlsbad, which is a little further inland. And then Legoland is awesome for anybody that's never been. I know a lot of folks that come out here kind of checking out the areas. That's one of their stops, especially if you've got kiddos or just like building Legos like me. It's a really cool spot to check out. And a lot of locals here too get passes to Legoland because it is so accessible. It's an easy spot to just get to in an afternoon, evening. On the weekend, it's a little more crowded, so it's great to kind of get in there in off times. Carlsbad also has a ton of amenities. You've got the Forum shops on the south side, which is kind of higher end shops. You've got your Lululemon, you've got your Apple, and a couple other cool stores in there. And then you've got big malls, like you've got the big Westfield Mall at the north side of Carlsbad. You've got outlet malls kind of right in the middle of Carlsbad. So there's a ton of shopping options, a ton of kind of infrastructure and amenities that way. If you like getting to the movie theater, Carlsbad has a bunch. There's two Cinépolis in La Costa, just if you're looking for the kind of that luxury movie theater feel. And I mentioned the parks earlier. Calvary Hills is one of them. One of the best kind of in all of North County is Alga Norte Park. You hear us talk about it a lot on here, but it is second to none. It's amazing. It's got 3 big baseball fields. It's got a swimming section. It's got a skate park. It's got a huge playground, a bunch of just like green area, grass areas, picnic tables, all that. Dog park. It really is just one of the best parks in North County. One of the other amenities for Carlsbad is the Palomar Airport, which is right in the heart of Carlsbad. And part of the reason it's there is because of all that commercial area. If folks are coming down from LA, Bay Area, there's little charter planes that come into that airport for some of those businesses. Also, we have Omni La Costa Resort and Spa, which is a great spot right in the 92009 zip code. Even for locals, we use it as a staycation spot. They've got slides, beautiful pools, great golf courses, and really cool amenities for staying there for a couple nights.
For Encinitas, we're going to start where we did start in the first community, Olivenhain. Out there's not a ton of infrastructure. There is a smaller little shopping center. Harvest Ranch is that little local staple store right there. There's a little wine shop, Meritage wine shop right there as well. But out in Olivenhain proper, there's not much. There's a bunch of trails, which are killer. There's got a really good trail system because they're all equestrian. So you will be cruising around trails and stuff and see some horses cruise around. Coming a little bit further to the coast, the main corridor, like we mentioned, with all the big box stores, Targets and Kohl's and Home Depots and Bed Bath & Beyond, Barnes & Noble, all that kind of stuff is right down El Camino Real. There's kind of anything and everything you need. All your grocery stores, Sprouts, Trader Joe's, just the big ones, Ralph's, Vaughn's, all that kind of stuff is down El Camino Real. So if you're living in that neighborhood, in and around Encinitas, it is super convenient just cruising down there. And like I mentioned, there's a few hidden gems. Kato Sushi in one of those shopping centers. There's Rosanna's Pasta Shop, little take and bake pasta shop. There's Brewer's Tap Room, one of the only tap rooms in New Encinitas. So really cool little area right there. Like I said, anything and everything you need. San Diego Botanic Garden. If you live here and you have kids, it's a good little spot to burn a few hours. Get the annual pass, and they have 2 little kids areas where you cruise around and check it out. They have events during like Christmas, like the light shows. And there's not as many big parks like in Carlsbad. You got 4 or 5 main big parks. Encinitas Community Park is kind of the main park, newer park right in the heart of Encinitas. Once again, skate park, a bunch of ball fields. You got a killer play structure for the kids. There's a dog park there. So that's a really good park to explore. And then there's a bunch of little pocket parks. So if you live here, you will find your own little spots. And the golf course in Encinitas is Encinitas Ranch, surrounded by the Encinitas Ranch community. So a bigger track neighborhood, bigger homes, bigger footprint homes, kind of smaller yards as a whole in Encinitas, but the golf course is beautiful. They have a driving range there too. Go get 18 holes. You're overlooking the ocean, overlooking the hills, all the stuff that you kind of see behind us. A lot of the times it's a beautiful course. And then as you get to Coast Highway, obviously you have Leucadia, which you mentioned, and then kind of downtown Encinitas with all of the places that you want to explore, restaurants, new places shop popping up, taco shops. There are just a ton of spots down there. Modern Times, if you like craft beer in downtown Encinitas, Kai Ola Sushi in Leucadia, plus 1,000 other spots. Maybe not 1,000, but there's a lot of different spots to explore down there. And then obviously the beaches. Most of the beaches in Encinitas proper, until you get to Cardiff, are lined by bluff. So there's only a few little spots to cruise down, but some of my favorite surf breaks are kind of in that area. The beaches are not huge, especially during high tide. They disappear, but you can find your own little spots to hang out and chill, go down there, watch a sunset. It's really gorgeous here in Encinitas. Now jumping into the school districts, Encinitas is pretty simple. You have Encinitas Unified for, K through 6, and then you have San Diego for basically middle school and on. And you can look online, kind of explore, check them out. Some of the schools sit right in these neighborhoods where you can walk to the schools, which is pretty killer. Rating wise, if you guys do have kids, you're looking online, you're looking at all the ratings, grade schools, all that kind of stuff, check those out. But also dive into each individual school that you want to check out and see what programs they have. You can kind of find out a little bit more about each school individually, as opposed to just kind of like the Yelp for schools online. You can kind of get to see what school is going to be perfect for your kid.
And then one of the other things to look at when you're looking at schools is looking at the PTA for individual schools, because you can see a lot of what the PTA provides for schools. For instance, my kids go to a school where the PTA pays for music, art, and drama, which are not at every single school. So just keep that in mind as well when you're looking at different schools. So for the most part, Carlsbad is pretty simple. Carlsbad Unified School District is going to be your school districts for 92010, 92008, and 92011. So those you don't really have to think about. There are obviously a ton of schools in Carlsbad, but that school district covers the majority. 92009 is the complicated zip code where there are 3 school districts. You've got Carlsbad School District kind of in the northwest portion of 92009. On the south portion, you've got Encinitas and San Diego, in that kind of La Costa, New La Costa and Rancho Ponderosa and a whole bunch of neighborhoods down in that area. La Costa Canyon area also feeds into Encinitas School District. And on the northeastern portion, you've got a whole section that feeds into San Marcos School District. So that is the only complicated one. So if you're looking in that zip code specifically, just let us know which school district that you have interest in, and we can kind of point you in that right direction.
If you guys want to explore a little bit more about Carlsbad and actually things to do, go check out the next video popping up. We cruise around a little section, hit up Legoland, hit up the Strawberry Fields, hit up Windmill Food Hall, a little area of Carlsbad, a bunch of things to do, so be sure to go check that out. And if you're thinking about moving out here, hit us up, call, text, email. We got your back when moving here to North County, San Diego.